Good morning, race fans. Welcome back to another edition of... God, I love Formula 1. This weekend we had the Gran Premio de España de 2025 de Formula 1. And, oh man, I don't know about y'all, but I loved this race. Honestly, a great goodbye to our good old friend, the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. You will be missed. So let's review what went down here at the Race Day Cafe. I do want to apologize for the inevitable delay that I know is coming with this video. As you can see, I moved to a new apartment, so things have been very busy around here. Also, ignore the fact that my mattress is too small for the bed frame. Just ignore that. Let's start with the news before the weekend. James Vowles and Toto Wolff yelling at each other in Monaco became kind of a meme.
You've got a problem, change your fucking car.
Then you change your car because Checo has been saying the car is fucked.
We'll get back to that later. And the one thing everyone was looking forward to this weekend was the new FIA technical directive, aka the new regulations about the front wings, in which the teams were instructed to make them a whole lot less bendy, let's just say. And supposedly this regulation was to stop the McLaren dominance, and we will also get to that later. Because I do want to sneak in a mini design review here, because Sauber, of all teams, released a special livery for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's basically this glitchy, pixelated effect on the car, although some of y'all may not have even noticed it was there, and you'd be excused, because that's right, it's green and black again. Sauber, clearly you didn't watch my last video in which I told you to look into the color wheel. I know these are your team colors, but it's called a special livery for a reason. Like, this looks cool, but it just doesn't feel special enough. Honestly, I'll even take your April Fool's steak livery at this point. 5 out of 10, just very mid. Alpine also had new suits and technically a new livery because the team's 70th birthday is coming up and they want it to be extra French. Look at that. They're serving some real The Who logo realness with this one. 7 out of 10 on these suits, and that's coming from a Spaniard, so be grateful. The livery, however, is just a decal on the side of the car. I don't really know if we can call this a livery proper. Also, these motherfuckers had the 2021 Alpine livery right there, and instead they went with this. I'm honestly not even going to legitimize this by giving it a grade, so moving on. Practice was really not that interesting this weekend. There were no red flags, just sorta people going into the gravel a little bit, and that's it. The only thing maybe worth mentioning is that Haas brought out Ryo Hirakawa and Williams brought out Victor Martins. So yeah, really not all that interesting. Let's move on to qualifying. And I think this is the right time to say it was an absolute delight to have Monaco-based YouTuber Nico Rosberg commentating on both quali and the race. He was so fun to listen to, and I love how he kept calling out Crofty on some of the things he said. Like, the whole weekend Crofty was doing his whole, well, actually, it's better to start on P2 in Spain because you get the inside line, blah, blah, blah. And when they asked Nico about it, he straight up was like, no, that's not how it works at all. Pole is definitely better. And he seemed to be getting really invested in the race too, which was sweet to watch. Sky Sports, please bring him back more often. And then I might actually watch your broadcast more instead of the Spanish one. Anyway, this quali was interesting in that most of the interesting stuff happened in Q1. Sadly, Franco Colapinto had a problem with his car that delayed everybody else's lap, so we ended up with things like Carlos Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda out in Q1. I do feel bad for Yuki because he said he thought his lap had been good. Yikes. In Q3, Alonso went out, did a lap early, and got a provisional P5. Huge cheer from the stand.
Ahead of the reigning world champion, what a lap for the crowd to revel in.
Thank you, Spain, for keeping it real. But he ended up P10 because everyone else beat his time later, because the track evolution was huge. They did their lap early because I guess Aston Martin just didn't have any new soft tires, so they wanted to play it safe. But I don't know, I think he could have gone later, because he could have totally beat Hadjar and Gasly, and maybe even Leclerc. And anyways, by now we could clearly see that the new TD affected McLaren so much, like they were completely nerfed. I don't know how they're going to financially recover from this one, folks. Honestly, I love McLaren, and I want Oscar Piastri to win the championship. But would it have killed McLaren to at least pretend to be affected a little bit by the new reg? I just want this season to be unpredictable. Is that too much to ask? But seriously, that car is a little too good. It survived an investigation, it survived a technical directive without a need to even bring any upgrades. It's just completely bulletproof. It's almost a little suspicious, like, there's no way there's no foul play going on there, right? Anyway, let's discuss the race because boy howdy, was this a crazy one. Already the start foreshadowed the chaos that would happen later. Oscar had a good start and easily kept his lead. Verstappen overtook Norris, Leclerc overtook 2 positions, and Kimi Antonelli had to go into the escape route. And Hülkenberg actually battled with Alonso for P10. Truly Sauber were working some black magic here. A few laps in, Leclerc reached Hamilton, and he clearly had more pace, so the team issued the order to swap the cars. Honestly, I think the order came a little late, but it was not that bad. It was not that bad. I'm not coming after Ferrari for this one. Surprisingly. I did honestly though love Nico Rosberg glazing Lewis. This is so sad for him. He's a 7-time world champion, he's a living legend, and he's having to let his young teammate pass. As a Lewis fan who's really struggling with Ferrari right now, thanks, Nico. I really needed that. Alex Albon had to make his first pit stop around this time too, because he got front wing damage from Hülkenberg at the start. And on lap 13, Norris reached Verstappen and Max kind of let him through, like he knew it was a lost battle. And so Red Bull kind of changed strategies from a 2-stop to a 3-stop, which had its consequences later. Let's leave it at that. At one point, Alonso went into the gravel and I wanted to die. I was like, there it is. The thing that's gonna stop Alonso from scoring any points yet again. But thankfully he got out, so crisis averted. For now. Great overtake from Max on George here, by the way. And on lap 25, we got the Alex Albon epic saga of misfortune. There was an incident between Albon and Liam Lawson. Lawson wanted Albon to give back the position. Albon didn't do it, so Lawson just passed him. And then in doing that, Fernando Alonso also passed Alex Albon. And on top of that, Lawson's overtake caused damage to Albon's front wing. Again. And Albon had to serve a 10-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. And finally, Albon just retired.
And it's all too much for little
Albon's front wing. And now it's the last lap. On lap 40, apparently. Man, the F1 broadcast just has been working without a hitch this year, huh? Around lap 44, Crofty was talking about Carlos Sainz being toward the bottom, and he said something like, oh, this is really bad for Carlos's 100% record of scoring points in Spain, unless there's a safety car or something really dramatic happens. So basically he was bonked in the head with Apollo's dodgeball of foresight, but we'll get to that. Verstappen pits for a 3rd time, gets on softs, and starts to catch Lando. And then we get another weird battle between Lawson and Behrman, but this time with Max and Lando in the middle trying to lap them. Somehow Behrman still had to give back the position to Lawson, and in doing that, Alonso sneaked past him as well. I'm starting to get deja vu here. Then on lap 55, Kimi Antonelli went into the gravel because of a power unit failure, and a safety car came out. And here is where the race completely flipped upside down. Of course, everybody pits, but most crucially, Leclerc gets on new mediums, being practically the only driver in the top teams who still had new mediums, while the McLarens get on use softs. And Verstappen gets on hard tires, inexplicably, and on the safety car restart, oh my god. Verstappen's race went completely downhill. His car snaps going into the main straight and Leclerc overtakes him. They have a little contact, a race incident by all accounts, but Max got angry thinking that Charles hit him. And now, Russell's trying to overtake Verstappen too. So Max goes off track and gains an advantage. And so while Verstappen's on the radio saying, Leclerc needs to give me back the position, his team is going, Max, can you let Russell through? You thought that was it? Oh, no, sir, no, it wasn't. Because it looked like Max was letting Russell through, but then in the corner, he absolutely shoved Russell to the side. The Max and George drama is alive and well in 2025. Folks, there's no way around this one. It was a black flag move. He should have totally gotten disqualified for that. But somehow the FIA was surprisingly lenient and gave him only a 10-second penalty, although it was enough to drop him down to P10, which means that with no further threat behind them, Oscar Piastri wins the race and Lando Norris gets P2, followed by, of course, Charles Leclerc in P3. And right before all of that, Lewis Hamilton got passed by Nico Hülkenberg in a Sauber. Insane. And Alonso overtook Liam Lawson at the very end to finally get his first points of the season. Thank you, gods of F1. I love you. Whew. What a race. Now let's talk about my superlatives. My ace of the race is without a doubt. How the pray tell fuck did a Sauber end up in P5? I've never seen anything like this. It was ridiculous. He started P15. I simply have no words other than chapeau. I tip my hat to thee, good sir. Uncontested ace of the race. No one's doing it like Nico. My honorable mention for ace of the race goes to Charles Leclerc. Charles' drive was so banging, he impressed me way more than the McLarens. My guy went from P7 to the podium. Admittedly, Ferrari ran his strategy better than almost everyone else's, including Hamilton's, especially with that new set of mediums thing. So the team actually deserve a bit of praise as well. But Leclerc did not make a single error the whole race, and when it really counted, he took the chance and overtook Max Verstappen for the glory. Really masterful drive from Leclerc. This week's disgrace of the race is Carlos Sainz. It sucks to see Carlos here after he seemingly began to find his footing in Williams, but he was just gone this weekend, couldn't fight for anything. I do think that Williams deserve a bit of the blame here because they have such a good thing going on with this year's car. Why did they stop all work on it? I guarantee that if they had brought upgrades to this triple header, Carlos would have been able to fight for some points. To be fair, Alex's race did start better. His thing was more a case of bad luck, but still, especially for Carlos being at home, it's just not the smoothest operation, let's just say. My honorable mention for disgrace of the race goes to Liam Lawson. You all know that I hate to talk down about a rookie, but what was going on with Liam today? My dude was involved in like every incident in the race. I have no idea how he didn't get a single penalty. And to top it off, he was still pretty far from Hadjar. Closer than usual, but still far. Anyway, Liam's really living up to his initials with all the L's he keeps taking. This week's strategy disaster class goes to Red Bull. And this is not even about Red Bull telling Max to give Russell back the position, even though the FIA was never actually going to penalize that in the first place. I do think Red Bull was justified in that because they couldn't have known what the FIA was going to do. But it is about pitting Max for hard tires. In what world is that the right thing to do in Spain? I know it was the only unused tire that Max had left, but it was not the right call at all. I truly think used softs would have worked better. I don't know, maybe y'all have a different view, and if so, let me know. But I thought it was a pretty questionable move. And it also made Max start to get angry, which, as we've seen, only spiraled from there. This week's underdog shoutout goes to Isaac Hadjar. I am once again singing the praises of this little man. Another comfortable Q3 entry for him, another finish in the points. My man should really get his back looked at because it must be destroyed from carrying all of VCarb. Easily the rookie of the year so far. I say this while also living in fear of the day Red Bull decide to give him the call up. Please leave my boy alone. For the best team radio of the day, so I did not get to do a review for Monaco, but my favorite radio from that race was when Max said that his brakes felt like the Monaco Grand Prix of 1972. And today we sort of got the continuation of that saga, when Max said, "It's like I have no clutch while upshifting," and his engineer very knowingly said, 1973? And Max, yeah, maybe 1974. I'm personally loving this saga. I want it to become a running gag with the team from now on. I also want to award a drama queen crown, and maybe this will upset some of y'all, but it is for Max Verstappen. Let me tell you, the whole race, I was loving his drive. Red Bull were miraculously keeping him in the fight with the McLarens, and he was doing his own part perfectly. But then that safety car restart happened and it was not so great anymore, was it? Obviously, like I said, some of that was the team's fault, but in my opinion, what Verstappen did on George Russell was unacceptable. On Sunday, Max showed us his ugly side, and honestly, I just can't tolerate these things. What he did is exactly the kind of reason that keeps me from ever truly liking him, as a driver and as a person. But Having said that, purely in terms of spectacle and entertainment, it is so fun to have a villain in the sport. To have like that one person that sometimes just does completely unhinged and fucked up shit. It's just so much fun. So from a sporting perspective, I can't condone it, but on a drama perspective, congratulations, my dear. The best moment of the weekend for me, I think, was just seeing the crowd in Barcelona. I mean, they were cheering all the way through, even when Alonso and Sainz were literally in the pits. Not the actual pits, like not the pit lane, but the metaphorical pits, the back of the grid. I mean, the cheers that Alonso got for his provisional P5 in quali were incredible. I'm obviously biased because I'm Spanish, but I just think we bring so much good energy to these races, and frankly, F1 would be lost without Hispanic and Latino fans. It would be an incredibly boring sport without us. So yeah, I love to see it. The worst moment of the weekend, and I'm realizing we did not really talk about this, so we're gonna talk about it now, was the whole Lance Stroll situation. So in case you didn't notice, Lance Stroll was conspicuously absent from this discussion, and it's because he did not participate in the race for medical reasons. Apparently, he's been experiencing a lot of hand and wrist pain from that accident he had in 2023, so presumably he was undergoing some sort of medical treatment. But he did do qualifying, and at some point after that session, for whatever reason, Lance Stroll got incredibly upset about something, maybe not making it into Q3, we'll probably never know. And reportedly, he started yelling at the mechanics and throwing furniture around. Like, it was bad. According to the team, it had nothing to do with him sitting out the race because of his hand thing. But my man, don't you think that throwing furniture around is gonna make your hand thing worse? Priorities, Lance. Anyway, Lance Stroll continues to be the disappointing, entitled bitch baby that he's always been, and he continues to treat his team like garbage. Yeah, he deserves to miss his home race. Overall, I don't care what y'all think. I'm giving this race a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not saying it was the best race of all time, mind you, but I was thoroughly entertained. And it was in my country, and it's the last time on this track. Let me have this, please. Lastly, let's review the year-long prediction bingo. Going back to last week, we got new driver in Monaco. Let's go. The one chance we had to make that one happen, and it happened. I'm a genius. But for this week, I want to discuss some of these with y'all. For example, I'm looking at new Toto Wolff meme template. We had that thing with Toto and James Vowles during Monaco. Does that count? I don't know. You guys tell me. And for this week, I'm looking at huge drama involving Max. I think personally it could totally count, not just because of the nature of the incident, but also because it was with George Russell. And we know that the relationship between those two has been rocky at best. But you guys tell me if we should count it or not. That's all for this week's race review. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. And let me know what you all thought of the race, because I always want to hear your comments. And just a heads up that next week's videos might be slightly delayed on account of I will be at the race. That's right, I am going to Montreal. I'm taking a little road trip. It's gonna be my first time ever going to a Grand Prix, so I'm really excited. I haven't even fully processed it yet. So if any of y'all have any recommendations for the track or the city or just the trip in general, let me know. I would love to hear it. Thanks again for watching. Stay fueled, and I'll see you on the next race day.